Your dad filled half a petrol tank, bought a loaf of bread, a litre of milk, a bag of mixed lollies, and a paddle pop with a single dollar note in 1972. That same shopping trip cost you $45 today. So here's what nobody's asking. If wages went up and prices went up, why are we all so much poorer than our parents were? Picture this, 1972, Saturday morning in suburban Australia. The sun's already hot at 8 o'clock. You can hear the clink of glass milk bottles on the front step. The milkman's already been and gone in his little white truck. Your mum's in the kitchen making toast, the smell of butter melting, the sound of the radio playing somewhere in the background. This wasn't just money, this was power. You know what a buck bought you in 1972? Bloody everything, mate. Your dad would pull out his wallet at the servo. Thick leather, worn smooth from sitting in his back pocket for years. He'd flip it open and pull out a single dollar note. Not a coin, a note. Crisp green paper with the Queen's face staring back at you. Real money you could fold. He'd hand it over to the bloke at the servo, and that dollar would fill the tank halfway. 10 cents a litre for standard petrol, Shell, Ampol, or Caltex. It didn't matter which one. They all cost the same. Your dad would get his change in silver coins. Heavy coins that clinked when they dropped into his palm. Then he'd drive home with a half-full tank and money left over. Your mum would send you down to the milk bar after breakfast. She'd press a dollar note into your hand. Your palm would get sweaty holding it. "Don't lose it," she'd say, looking right at you. Her eyes are serious. You'd like you were carrying something precious. And you were. That single dollar could buy a loaf of tip-top bread, 20 cents, still wrapped in that red, white, and blue plastic bag. You could get a litre of Norco milk, maybe 25 cents. The glass bottle would be cold and heavy, and you'd still have enough left over for a mixed lolly bag. 10 cents for the bag, Minties and Fantails and those little milk bottles that stuck to your teeth. Maybe even a paddle pop from the street's freezer, 15 cents for chocolate, all from $1. The change would jingle in your pocket on the walk home. Try doing that today and see how far you get. Go on. Take a dollar coin to the servo. See if they even let you in the door. This was the promise Australia made to working families back then. If you put in an honest day's work, and you'd be able to afford life. Not luxury, not fancy holidays or new cars every year, just life. The normal stuff. The milk bar runs on Saturday, the fish and chips wrapped in newspaper on Friday night, the Saturday arvo at the flicks with your mates. Your dad made about $55 a week in 1971. Most blokes did. That was enough. Enough for the mortgage, enough for groceries, enough for your mum to send you to the milk bar with $1 and know you'd come back with what she needed. The economy wasn't something that happened to you. It wasn't something on the news that made your parents worry. It was something you could actually be part of. Even as a kid, you could take your pocket money and buy things, real things, not just one lolly, a whole bag, an ice cream, a comic book. $1 meant something. It had weight. Not just the weight of the paper in your hand, but real weight, real power, the power to participate. Saturday morning, your mum would count out the week's shopping money on the kitchen table. Pound notes and dollar notes spread out in little piles. Decimalisation was still new. Only 6 years since Australia switched from pounds and shillings. She'd make a list on the back of an envelope. Bread, milk, butter, a bit of mince for the weekend. Maybe some chops if they were on special at Woolworths or Coles. These weren't the massive warehouses they are today. These were smaller shops. Sawdust on the floor. The butcher knew your name. He'd wrap your meat in white paper and tie it with string. The milk bar was where the real magic happened. You'd walk down the street in your thongs. The footpath is hot under your feet. You'd push through that door and hear the bell jangle above your head. Every corner shop had one. Mister. Whatever his name was would be behind the counter. A cigarette hanging from his mouth maybe. Radio playing in the background. The shop would smell like lollies and cigarettes and something else. Something sweet and chemical from the ice cream freezer. Street milk bar or Peter's milk bar. Never both. That was the rule nobody explained, but everyone knew. You picked your side and you stuck with it. Street shops had paddle pops and cornettos. The green and white freezer with the logo. Peter's shops had Barney bananas and drumsticks. The red freezer. Both had Bubble O Bill watching you with that cheeky gumball nose stuck right on his face. You had to eat around it carefully, or it would fall off and roll under the shop counter. With your dollar, you'd start with what your mum told you. Milk and bread first. That was the law. I'm a tip-top bread in the red, white and blue bag. 20 cents. So soft you could squash it into a tiny ball if you got bored on the walk home. Norco milk in the glass bottle. 25 cents. Heavy and cold. The foil cap you could peel off. Then came your choices. Mixed lollies were 10 cents for a decent bag. Big enough to share. Fantails that got stuck in your teeth. Jaffas that you'd roll down the aisle at the cinema when nobody was looking. Minties wrapped in green paper. Those little milk bottles that tasted like sugar and childhood. An ice block was 10 to 15 cents. Sunny Boy in the Pyramid Tetra Pak. You'd fold the corners down and suck the ice. Orange or raspberry or cola flavour. A rainbow paddle pop was the expensive choice. 15 cents. 3 colours that never quite tasted different, but you pretended they did. If it was really hot, maybe 35 degrees by 10 in the morning, you'd think about golden gay time. The biscuit crumbs on the outside, the toffee ice cream inside, 20 cents if you were lucky. You'd hand over your dollar. The shopkeeper would make change without a calculator, just counted it out in his head. Coins would clink into your palm. You'd walk home with the bread under your arm. The milk bottle is sweating in the heat. Your lolly bag clutched tight, the change jingling in your pocket. Your mum would count the change when you got home. She always knew exactly what you should have left. Mums always knew. Here's what nobody tells you about the early 70s in Australia. It wasn't perfect. Bloody hell, it wasn't perfect. It was hot. Really hot. The houses didn't have air conditioning unless your dad was a doctor or worked at the bank. You had one fan, maybe 2 if you were lucky. And all it did was push the hot air around the room. You'd lie on the lino floor in your undies trying to get cool. The sweat would stick you to the floor. The milk bar didn't have automatic doors. No hand sanitizer stations, no sneeze guards over the lolly jars. Mr. Whoever would handle your coins with his bare hands. The same hands that just sold cigarettes to Mrs. Johnson. The same hands that made milkshakes in the metal cup. Nobody thought about germs. You just didn't think about it. That was life. Everything was smaller. The shops closed at noon on Saturday. Didn't open again until Monday morning. If you forgot to get bread on Saturday morning, you were eating toast crusts on Sunday. No debate. The cinema was one screen, one movie, maybe showing twice a day. You didn't choose what to watch. You watched whatever was showing. The Adventures of Barry Mackenzie in '72. You'd sit on the sticky vinyl seats. Your thongs would stick to the floor. The sound of Jaffa rolling down the aisle during the boring parts. But here's the thing. Everything happening at once was manageable because the scale was human, small enough to understand. The milk bar owner knew you. He knew your mum. He knew which lollies you always picked. The butcher knew what your mum liked, thick chops or thin ones. The bloke at the servo knew your dad's car. When you walked to school, you knew every single kid on your street, everyone. The community wasn't something you joined on Facebook. It was something you couldn't escape. And that had its own kind of beauty. Walking into the milk bar on a 40-degree day, you'd feel that rush of slightly cooler air from the ceiling fans. Not cold, just less hot. The smell would hit you all at once. Cigarettes, lollies, that faint chemical tang from the Sunny Boy freezer that never quite worked properly. The sound of coins clinking into the register drawer. No beeps, no scanners, just metal hitting metal. Mr. Whoever is doing the math in his head, getting it right every time. Saturday morning chaos. Everyone is trying to get their shopping done before noon. But everyone knew the system, even though it was never written down anywhere. You took your turn. You waited. You didn't push in. You didn't complain about the prices because there was nowhere else to go anyway. That was it. That was the only shop in walking distance, the unspoken competition between kids. Whose dad had the longest driveway? Who got the biggest ice cream? Who could make their mixed lollies last the longest? The embarrassment when your paddle pop would melt faster than you could eat it. Chocolate running down your hand, down your arm. Your mum wiping it off with her hanky and a bit of spit. What seemed normal but was actually special. A working family could live comfortably on one income, just one. Your mum didn't have to work unless she wanted to. A dollar had weight, had meaning. Savings accounts earned interest, real interest. Inflation was 3.27% in 1972. Prices felt stable. They didn't jump around every week. Let's be honest about what 1972 really was. The houses were smaller and hotter, no air conditioning, just fans that moved hot air around. The cars were death traps, no seatbelts in the back seat, sometimes no seatbelts at all. You couldn't call anyone unless they were home, and you definitely couldn't Google what time the shops closed. There was no Uber Eats, no Amazon Prime, no endless scroll of shows to watch. You had 3 TV channels. A BC, Channel 7, Channel 9. They all stopped broadcasting at midnight with the national anthem, then just static. But here's what it gave us: certainty. $1 was $1. Tomorrow it will still be $1. Work was work. If you showed up and did your job, you could afford a life. Not a rich life. Not fancy holidays overseas, just a life. But the kind where your kids could walk to the milk bar with $1 and come back with groceries and an ice cream. The kind where Friday fish and chips was every week, not once a month when the budget allowed. The kind where the future felt possible, like things would get better, or at least stay affordable. We had less, but it felt like more. That's the paradox nobody talks about. Your dad's $55 weekly wage in 1972 is worth about $700 today. But your mum's groceries cost $20 a week, not $200. The house cost 8 times your dad's annual salary, not 15 times, not 20 times. The numbers were smaller, but the ratio actually worked. The math made sense. You could do the math in your head and it added up to hope. There's a photo somewhere, probably in your parents' garage, stuffed in a shoebox with all the other old photos. You're outside the milk bar, holding a paddle pop, squinting into the sun. Your t-shirt probably had a stain on it. Your hair cut wonky because your mum did it at home with kitchen scissors. Behind you, the prices are painted on the window. Ice blocks 10 cents, mixed lollies 10 cents, bread 20 cents, milk 25 cents. You can't recreate that photo today. Not just because the prices are different, because the whole world those prices represented are gone. Vanished. Like it never existed. What this was really about wasn't the dollar. It was the promise that the dollar represented, that if you worked hard you'd be okay, that your kids could walk to the corner shop and participate in the economy with their pocket money, that the future would be better than the past, or at least affordable. That Australia was a place where regular people could buy a house, raise a family, and still have enough left over for a golden gay time on Saturday. That promise didn't just fade away slowly, it shattered. The milk bars became 7-Elevens with self-serve checkouts. The dollar note became a coin that barely buys a bottle of water. The houses that cost $15,000 in 1972 now cost $1 million. More than $1 million in the cities. The weekly wage went up, sure, but it didn't go up enough. Not even close. Not even in the same universe as close. We're all carrying these memories together. Every Australian over 50 knows exactly what I'm talking about. You can still taste that paddle pop, can't you? Still hear that milk bar bell jangling when you push the door open? I still feel the weight of that dollar note in your sweaty palm, knowing it was enough, knowing you could buy what your mum needed and still get lollies. That's not just nostalgia, that's grief. Grief for something we'll never get back. Do you remember what you could buy with $1 at your local milk bar? Could you get milk, bread and lollies all at once? What was your go-to ice cream, Streets or Peters? And what did your dad's weekly wage actually buy for your family back then? If this brought back memories, share your story in the comments. And please subscribe to keep these memories alive. Because someone needs to remember when $1 actually meant something.